Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. If you'll please rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody this evening. Will you call the roll, please?
Sloan?
Here.
Henning? Gorman?
Here.
Merkel?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
Lieberman?
Here.
Dietering.
Here. Mr.
I move we excuse Kenny from tonight's meeting.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Merkel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have two special presentations this evening, so I'll turn that over to
The first, Madam Mayor, is an introduction of Julie Spinner, who's in attendance sitting in our first row this evening. She's a recent recipient of the Clayton Community Foundation Scholarship Program. She is a nursing student in excellent standing at Sinclair Community College. Her plan is to finish out her program there, and then she will advance herself to Wright State University, where she hopes to graduate as a nurse practitioner. One of the truly amazing things about her, and one of the things that made her well-suited as a candidate for this grant opportunity, is that she also volunteers on top of all of her other responsibilities as a community nurse at Reach Out Montgomery County.
Oh, great. Congratulations, and thank you for coming. What kind of nurse practitioner do you want to be?
I'm not really sure yet. I want to do something with community nursing, something to give back to the community. I really love the Reach Out program that helps people that don't have insurance. It's something that I feel passionate about, so if I could somehow combine the two, that's where I hope to eventually end up.
Well, I'm sure you'll be successful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The next part is exciting as well, as it's an opportunity to introduce you to two new members of our staff. The first is TJ Neese, and he's kind of trying to hide in the back, but we're not going to let that happen. We're going to ask him to stand up, but we won't ask him to come forward or anything. He joined the staff in April. I'm sorry.
Was he there Saturday?
He was. Yes, he was serving on Saturday at our Clean Up Clayton program. TJ is a 2005 local graduate. He graduated from Northmont High School and Miami Valley CTC. And he started his employment experience not too long thereafter at Montgomery County Water Department. And that is where I'm going to have to use the word stole him from, because even in his short tenure with the city, he's demonstrated himself to be a very hardworking young man and a very valued member of our team. We're just happy to have him.
I can attest to the hard-working part on Saturday afternoon. He was by far one of the youngest fellows there. All the staff were a lot younger than the rest of us, I know that much. And they all did a great job.
And what was your program at the CTC?
Heavy equipment operations.
Great. So were you the one operating the heavy equipment?
No, that was Joel.
Oh, okay.
The two of them look very much alike.
I was supervising.
Okay.
We won't tell him you said that. Thank you. Our second employee is all sitting in the corner, Andrew McGee. I'll ask him to stand up. Andrew is our new city planner, and he started earlier this week. He is a graduate of Ball State University's Urban Planning and Development program, and he's a member already of the American Planning Association. He's just recently attended their national conference. He'll be working on residential and business permits in the planning department and interfacing with our planning commission and our zoning board of appeals. And we're also very pleased to have him as a member of our team.
Great. Thank you. Okay, well then we will move to the zoning hearing that we have. Will you read the title, please?
Zoning case ZC 14-01, Good Samaritan Hospital and Health Center request a zoning change from single-family residential to office service for the property located at 65 Heathcliff Road, 99 Heathcliff Road, and 133 Heathcliff Road in the city of Clayton, Ohio.
Okay, since this is a hearing this evening, the procedure that will follow is we'll have a presentation from Gwen Eberly, our staff member, and then we will ask for anybody who'd like to speak in support of the project and anybody who would like to speak in opposition of the project. And then then we'll close the hearing, and it's on our agenda later to vote on.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. I am bringing you tonight, this is the public hearing for zoning case 14-01. It is a proposal to rezone 3 residentially zoned properties. They're located on Heathcliff Road to an office service zoning. All right, come on. Hey, Mr. Clicker.
Your batteries.
We just replaced them.
We just replaced them. All right, there we go. All right. We have three properties that are on Heathcliff Road. If you look, you have Main Street here. This is Heathcliff. And you also have Good Samaritan North Hospital
Matt?
here, just north of it.
Turn some of the lights off.
The property is currently zoned R2, which is single-family residential use. The requested zoning, as we discussed, is OS, which is for office service. And that is consistent with the future land use planning, which calls for that property to be used for a public or semi-public purpose. These are some pictures of what the property looks like currently. It is vacant land. There are trees. Parts of it closer to the entrance to Jake Gross Nickel Park are mowed and have a little bit more landscaping, but they're fairly open properties. At this point, the Good Samaritan North approached the Planning Commission with a proposal for to change it to office service to meet some of their future long-term planning for the future growth of the hospital, to provide additional services to this community, which is a very positive thing to have happen. The Planning Commission met and on March 24th to hear the initial presentation on the proposal. At that meeting, they did vote to approve the request for rezoning and have made that recommendation to City Council. I know there have been some questions in terms of what is the purpose of the rezoning hearing. Really what we're talking about today is whether or not the property should be rezoned for an office service use. As this project moves forward, as Good Samaritan North Hospital develops their plans and get something a little bit more concrete, that will have to go back to the Planning Commission. And actually, we've been coordinating with the City of Inglewood as well to sort of help coordinate, since the project will potentially be on both sides of the jurisdiction. But again, that will have to come back before the Planning Commission and then ultimately to City Council, which will be additional opportunities for the public to see what's going on, see what's being planned, and provide input for that as well. The plans that you see here are very preliminary in terms of sort of what they're thinking about doing is sort of adding on to the hospital facility here. This is the corporation line right here, and then using the property in Clayton to provide parking as well as access to Heathcliff Road. So that is what they're looking at doing right now.
But we are not approving any of that at this point in time,
No.
right?
At this
Okay.
point, we're just looking at the rezoning piece of it. And I will go back to the map quickly, and just to sort of to let you know, this piece here, this square here at the corner of Heathcliff and Main is currently zoned office service. So the requested zoning is consistent with that. The property here on the corner, that is zoned as a PD1. That is the apartment complex that is in there. The land back here is zoned R2, including what this is right now, but it's single-family residential. So
Okay.
that is my part.
All right. Is there anyone who would like to speak in support of the project? Mr. LaChance, would you like to come on up?
Sunglasses.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council, Assistant City Manager. I'm Buddy LaChance. I'm Director of Real Estate for Premier Health and Good Samaritan Hospital, here to speak and answer any questions that you might have regarding the proposed rezoning. As Ms. Eberly described this, we're this application is to just change the zoning of the 3 residential properties to an office service. It is consistent with the property that's right next door, and certainly with the adjacent type of development that's happened on the 40 acres that's in Englewood. That is our medical facility there in that area. So we're very excited about this project. I know this is just about the changing the zoning, but we're very excited about being able to enhance the level of service that we're able to bring to both the Clayton and Englewood area. The project's been met with a lot of positive support. So we're just anxious to move forward with this, and we would appreciate your support.
Okay.
Now, when we arrived at our chairs here this evening, we received an invitation to groundbreaking for the new emergency health department at the Good Samaritan North. Mm-hmm. But that is all in Englewood, right? That has nothing to do with what we're talking about here tonight.
The building itself.
That's what I mean, the building
building
itself.
is in the city of Englewood, yes.
And everything that's being done at this point in time is within the city of Englewood, not on this property we're dealing with tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
Have you spoke to any of the surrounding neighbors that may be impacted by this?
We had conversation with Mr. Worley, who is the gentleman who owns the property at the corner. I mean, I speak with him from time to time about his property and what our plans are, and we had let him know that it was our intention to develop something adjacent to his property. So he was aware of that, and I met with he and his sons several times around the end of last year.
So you are aware of there are some neighbors here this evening who are very concerned about the project.
Okay. I'll be happy to answer any questions that they may have.
Very good.
Are there any questions for Mr. LaChance from council? Okay. Thank you. Anybody else here to speak in support of the project? Anybody in opposition who would like to speak? Would you please come forward and give your name and address?
Did you get the list?
No, this is different. This is a hearing.
My name is Kimberly Payton, and my father lives at 138 Heathcliff. And can somebody bring this map back up for me so I can show you where my dad lives? Because the gentleman here from Good Sam said that he spoke with Mr. Worley. Mr. Worley does not live on his property. He has a rental unit there. He also has a beauty salon at the corner. He does not live there, so this does not directly impact him as a household resident there. My father's house sits right here. The house up there at the other yellow is the Hendricks. And there is a house right here. So I think all three of us, me, because that's my father's house and I spend a lot of time there, and that's where I grew up, I think that we are directly affected by this. And I can't believe that they wouldn't come and talk to us about it. I mean, if you've ever driven down Heathcliff, you would know that's a nice neighborhood. We used to have a few more houses there, 4 more houses there that aren't there anymore, but still, where we sit at now, we look at a nice yard, green space, trees. We don't want an emergency room there. I understand that we need it. What's over there now is fine, but if you put another road out, I'm not sure where you're going to put it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be right across the street from my dad's. Who wants to listen to ambulances? The 3 residents that are there surely don't. The first meeting, no one told us about. I only found out about it because we saw it in the newspaper, which I thought that was kind of disappointing for being a part of Clayton/Randolph Township for all of these years, that someone would have thought it was important to let us know to come to the meeting so that we could have heard what they had to say. I'm just, my dad still lives there. I don't understand why nobody thought it was important to talk to us. I do want to thank a couple people real quick. Mr. Gorman, I appreciate his time at our meeting when we came last time, because he was the only one that said, hey, no, wait a minute, we need to start this from the very beginning because the residents didn't know. The law director said that she thought we could start at the second meeting and just go forward and that we wouldn't really know what was going on. And if any of you lived on our road, I don't think you'd be very happy that no one knew about it. I really don't. I don't think you'd want to live there seeing all this traffic come and go. When I read in the newspaper that there's 5,000 ambulance rides from Inglewood, Union, Butler Township, Clayton, and they all go to Good Sam and all the other hospitals too. So if we just take half of those, that's 2,500 ambulance rides in and out of there that are going to be hearing all night long. I just don't understand why no one thought it was important to talk to us about it. And in the paper for Good Sam that said, how will this anchor the character of the neighborhood? They thought it was a good idea that it would anchor the neighborhood. We still have kids that play there. I mean, we have grandchildren. We have, kids that live there. I don't think all that extra traffic going up and down the road is a good thing. I really don't. And I don't understand. I just don't know. I just want to know what Clayton sees the benefit, because if Good Sam says that this is what they're going to do and there's going to be a parking lot there, and several of these papers I read that in the future there'll be more building projects, so there are going to be more doctor's offices right there. That means more traffic. I mean, what if my dad and the Hendricks and Mrs. Asbury ever wanted to sell their property? Who wants to live there? Nobody's going to want to live there. Nobody's going to want to raise a family there. And I just have some pictures because I'm sure none of you have stood in my dad's yard to see, but if I can pass these around, these are from his front yard and what we see now. But if you can only imagine what we will be seeing when there's a new road and all these cars, and not to mention all the stuff that happens when you have an emergency room. Where Good Sam is now, and Good Sam's a good hospital. I go there too, but it used to be a beautiful neighborhood and you would feel safe to walk around there. Right now, I don't know if any of you know, but at the Jake Gross Nickel Park, there's cars that come in 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Good Sam is not open at that time in the morning. They're going down to the park. There's cars coming and going all night long, and we never see any police come through there. So what's going to happen with all this extra traffic? And not to mention, I don't know if you're aware, but that is the very icy road in the wintertime. I don't know how you're going to get an ambulance to slow down on that hill when we can barely slow down and turn into our own driveway, let alone carrying someone who needs emergency medical care. So That's what I have to say.
Thank you. And of course, you're aware that the Gross Nickel Park is in Inglewood, so there wouldn't be any Clayton police there.
It's right next door to the Clayton property.
But I would like to ask Mr. LaChance, what do you anticipate about the ambulance noise? Will there be sirens going down the road there? Yeah, if you would.
I am not 100% sure what the protocol is for what happens when the ambulance gets close. I mean, obviously, that's most important to have the sirens on when that vehicle is trying to maneuver through more heavily trafficked area, which Heathcliff certainly doesn't get the same kind of volume of traffic as Main Street does. But I'm not really qualified or prepared to answer that question. Yeah, maybe
our fire chief has a comment on that.
Obviously, it depends upon the type of call that you're going. If it's an emergency type response that requires emergency lights and sirens, we will use it. When we get close to hospitals now, I'll use Good Sam for reference. We turn on Benson Road, which is the ambulance entrance down there, which is a residential area. Doesn't have a whole lot of traffic. At night, the sirens are turned off once they turn on the Benson. Is that a policy? Is that a standard? No, but that's just usually what happens. So to sit there and say this is what will happen with all these other agencies, we can't control that. Neither can the ER down there say, once you turn on the Heathcliff, turn your sirens off. by state law, you're always, if you have your lights on, you're supposed to have your siren on. So we can't put a policy out in direct violation of that. But out of courtesy, a lot of people, once we turn on Benson, we usually turn our sirens off. There's not a whole lot of traffic. And about 1,000 yards down the road, there's the ER entrance. So will there be lights and sirens at 3 o'clock in the morning if they turn on Heathcliff? Yes, there will be. How much, I cannot tell you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'd like to ask Mr. LaChance, I don't remember the, or possibly Gwen, the picture you had up there of the two driveways coming into the one coming out on Heathcliff, that can be moved away from Frank's house, Mr. Boyd's house. We're not approving that driveway coming out there tonight, is what I want to assure the people. And when it is actually done, if it does come out in that formation, it can be moved one way or the other away from his front windows.
It is probably the currently proposed location for that drive is as far away from that edge of the property as possible.
Okay, Mr. Boyd said one time that he thought it came out right into his front windows. With the lights on the cars would be on his front windows. That's what I'm trying to say. And also, Gwen, is it buffered?
Yes. Yeah, there will be buffering required for the, whatever they end up putting in there. It will need to buffer with the residential neighborhood across the street.
And as I said once before at the other hearing, I think we need to deal with the road a bit too, because the road is not a very wide road for the type of equipment that you may be bringing in there, Brian, or anybody else in the ambulance end of it.
Well, I mean, it's probably worth noting there are very, very large vehicles that drive down that road every day that are.
I saw a school bus go. I was at the hospital this morning, and a school bus goes in, which adds another dimension that I didn't know.
Well, there's
and when I turned right on Main Street to go north, the school bus was coming out the other driveway. And after thinking it over, that's the end of the Northmont School District at the river. So that bus has to get back around somehow or another. And it's very kind of you to let them go through there. I think that's a wonderful idea. But
well, and as you know, there's a very large landfill or construction fill site off of Meeker Road that Heathcliff is used for vehicles to get to that site, and those vehicles are much larger.
But they are not turning either. They are going. There's no place for them to turn on Heathcliff Road. They are going straight up and down the road,
okay,
as opposed to making a left or a right turn into a driveway there. But it is going to be substantially buffered to protect the neighbors on Heathcliff, even though we're not approving that tonight, correct?
That's a different part of the conversation.
That's a different conversation, right.
There are buffering requirements.
Okay.
It probably is, Mr. Garber's comments about Good Samaritan Hospital are interesting, I think, and probably worth noting. If you're familiar with where the emergency entrance is into Good Sam, it is off of a residential street. It's not the main entrance of the hospital on Philadelphia Drive, and we have Good Samaritan Hospital has a very long history of being a very good neighbor in that area. I mean, not only have we taken very good care of those streets that border the hospital, but we have also spent significant dollars in, if you've heard of the Phoenix Project, trying to make sure that area stays very nice, and we have done everything we possibly could to allow us to continually be successful at that site and serve the community, yet also be a good neighbor.
I think you've been a good neighbor down here, too. I would say you've been a very good corporate neighbor for the city of Englewood and for Clayton, as close as we are to the situation.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition? Please come forward.
As far as the part of being a good neighbor, they have not been to us since we weren't notified. As far as upcoming...
I'm sorry, could you give us your name?
Oh, Rhonda Hendricks.
Okay. And your address?
145 Heathcliff.
Okay.
Anyway, the driveway thing in the future, we'll move it, won't be at Mr. Boyd. So where are you going to go, down at my house? Or go the other way? Then you're going to go at Worley's Renter? There's not a good spot for a driveway. And as far as all the other big traffic that comes down there, the dump trucks, the school buses and all of that, nobody turns but the bus. And the bus turns at the flat at the bottom into the Sam North driveway. So to put an ambulance is about halfway up that hill. That's dangerous. And they're tall. I don't know if you've ever ridden in one, but they're pretty tipsy. So just my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition? Okay, we'll close the hearing then, and we'll move to the clerk's report.
Okay, you have before you the council meeting minutes of May 1st, 2014.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Sloan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else from the clerk? Under old business, we have two ordinances. Will you read the title to the first ordinance, please?
Ordinance O-ZC-14-01, an ordinance adopting the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve the application of Good Samaritan Hospital for a change to zoning from single-family residential to office service for the property located at 65 Heathcliff Road, 99 Heathcliff Road, and 133 Heathcliff Road in the city of Clayton, Ohio.
Just for procedural purposes, as we're starting that over again, shouldn't it be new business instead of old business? This is a first hearing.
It was tabled at the last meeting, so
It was tabled, or
that's
did we
why.
start over again?
It was it
Tabled,
was
was it?
tabled.
Okay.
I believe there was a motion to table it, so that's why it was put under.
But it is the first of two readings.
But it will be the first
Yeah.
reading.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor, procedurally, you would need a motion.
Oh, is there a motion to take it off the table?
I'll move to take it off the table.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gorman, second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion on the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Lieberman. Any discussion? All in
I think it's important, once again, to note that we are only rezoning. We are not approving that plan that was up there tonight.
Right.
The current land use plan for that area?
It's for public and semi-public.
That's the future aspect in terms of the development for Heathcliff.
Correct.
So it fits in with the land.
So this fits
zone.
within the land use plan as adopted?
Yes.
Any other discussion?
This is only the first of two readings, so
My only concern would be for the neighbors that, once we start down this path, once the zoning is the first step towards general approving it, they're not going to be happy,
Well, we're all concerned about the neighbors, and we're all going to do everything that we can to make it a good project for the community and for the neighbors.
I realize.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Will you read the title to the second ordinance, please?
Ordinance O-05-14-08, an ordinance amending the city's investment policy.
Okay, we had a presentation on this last meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
second.
Motion by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Merkel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move to the new business. We have three resolutions. Will you read the title to the first resolution, please?
Resolution R-05-14-38, a resolution providing consent to the Ohio Department of Transportation to replace structure file number 5769019 on Municipal Route 43, Old Mill Road, over Pig Eye Creek in Montgomery County, Ohio, and further described as Project D07 OBPP FY16 within the city limits of the city of Clayton.
Ms. Vance?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. As the clerk is indicating, the purpose of this agenda item is to go forward with a project that's being planned by the Ohio Department of Transportation, in particular respect to a bridge replacement at Old Mill Road and Pig Eye Creek, which is between Union and County Line Road, for those of you like me that did not know where Pig Eye Creek actually existed in the city. And we are recommending that you go forward with the authorization so that they may in turn go forward with the project.
And there's no financial responsibility for the city for this.
That's correct, Mr. Gorman.
Is it an upgrade to the bridge, or is it just
Replacement.
replacement?
It's a bridge replacement.
Are they doing any upgrades to it? I mean, is it going to be larger, better, or just the same?
It's a bridge replacement.
You're
No.
clearly not familiar with Pig Eye Creek.
I am not. No, I have not been over Pig Eye Creek. No,
Yeah, it's,
not much. Huh?
no, you don't.
Okay.
The bridge needs to be replaced.
Yes.
But
The
isn't
county's
in
ma-
Ohio doing a bunch of bridges in the county? I think
Yeah, and
you
we
gotta-
were lucky to get
That's
one.
right.
So
Very
it's
good.
The
not
bridge needs to
costing
be
us
replaced.
anything.
The county is
not
doing
good.
it at no cost to the city.
That's
The state
that's
is
part,
doing it.
yeah.
The state.
Well, state.
That's
But
correct.
If the state's doing it, the county's doing it, we're not having to do it.
There you go.
All right.
I move for approval.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Merkel, second by Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Will you read the title to the second resolution, please?
Resolution R-05-14-39, a resolution reversing advance of funds and accounting therefore as a transfer.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Evening. Back in the end of 2008, we approved some advances from the general fund to the police fund, the fire fund, the EMS fund. And what an advance is, it's allocation of monies to these funds with the intent that in the future they'll repay the general fund back and we can use those monies again. Versus what a transfer is where you move the money and it's permanently stays in those funds that we sent it to and never comes back. Well, since over 5 years have passed and the police fund still receives transfers every year, the EMS funds received 2 transfers out of the last 5. Looks like the intent to be repaid is not there anymore. And been in discussion with the state auditor's office that was doing the compilation of our financial statements. We're still carrying these advances as payables back to the general fund on the financial statements. So an effort to clean that up and move those from an advance to a transfer, since the intent doesn't seem to be there to ever get the money back. Just don't see it being feasible if we're still funding these departments' monies. Requesting that we just go ahead and remove the advance and make them a permanent transfer.
And people get upset with attorneys for all of our gobbledygook and stuff.
Wouldn't it be more lack of ability than intent not to pay, Kevin?
Yeah. I have all the intent in the world to get money back, but yeah, the ability,
I
yeah,
think
it's just with the expenses and the revenues we see coming into those funds, the ability to pay is not there.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gorman, second by Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Will you read the title to the third resolution, please?
Resolution R-05-14-40, a resolution approving amendments to the city's IRS Section 125 Flexible Savings Account Plan and Summary Plan Document.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, as you're aware, the city administers a voluntary benefit to its full-time employees, which allows them to participate in a salary reduction program under Section 125. The purpose of this agenda item is to bring our summary plan document into compliance with some provisions of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010, relating specifically to pre-existing conditions, the definition of a spouse, and some HIPAA regulations that are effectuated this year. With your permission, we can amend the plan document so that we remain compliant with the law.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Merkel, second by Mr. Lieberman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that brings us to the city manager report.
We do have a report for you tonight, Madam Mayor, in large part on our successful community cleanup program that was conducted this past Saturday, May 10th. We saw 130 visitors to the event, and completely filled 4 30-yard dumpsters worth of debris. Also accepted 38 tons of yard waste. So I know that many of you will be thanking the volunteers, many of you whom are among them that staffed that event for us this weekend. Also may be timely to note that we have an upcoming document shredding event on June 7th. That event is hosted in Randolph Plaza from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. And residents and members of the business community are invited to bring their secure documents to the site for on-site shredding service. And I'll also note the next date of community cleanup, since it has become such a popular community event, and that will be conducted on September 27th. That completes my report for this evening.
Okay, anything from Ms. Mans?
Yeah,